When we look at the relationships in our lives, one of the greatest threats we face is not always physical or material, it's psychological. It's subtle, insidious, and it chips away at you slowly, piece by piece. I'm talking about the presence of narcissists. Now, let's be very clear. There's a reason why they're difficult to detect at first. Narcissists are masters of illusion. They know how to wear masks. They present themselves as charming, intelligent, or even compassionate individuals, but underneath that carefully curated surface lies something far darker, a void, a self-obsession so consuming that it can destroy you if you're not careful. And here's the critical thing: you're often warned. You might think that warning signs come in grand, unmistakable gestures like in stories or myths, but no. The warnings that life or God gives you are subtle at first. They manifest in small moments of discomfort, a feeling that something's off even when you can't quite articulate it. You see, we have an innate sense of truth, and that sense often whispers to us before it screams. When you find yourself in the presence of a narcissist, you will notice patterns because narcissists are predictable. First, they don't listen. Not truly. A narcissist listens to respond, not to understand. They treat conversations as a stage, and you're merely an audience member. Watch closely the next time you share something meaningful, something that matters to you. If they dismiss it, redirect it, or worse, diminish it to center themselves, pay attention, that's not a mistake. That's a warning. Second, they make you doubt yourself. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, they chip away at your confidence. You might share an idea or a decision, and they'll undermine it with subtle ridicule. Are you sure that's a good idea? Or you always overthink these things. What they're really saying is, I want control, and I need you uncertain. You see, a narcissist cannot stand your autonomy. They fear it. Your strength threatens their facade. Third, and perhaps most devastating, is their inability to experience true empathy. You can often identify this by how they respond to your pain. When something hurts you, when you're vulnerable, how do they react? A narcissist might fake concern at first, but sooner or later their indifference reveals itself. It comes in the form of impatience, frustration, or even blaming you for your suffering. That's because empathy requires selflessness, and the narcissist's identity is built on self-worship. Now here's where God's warnings come into play. When you ignore these signs, things get worse. The discomfort intensifies. The moments of emotional pain become more frequent. The chaos in your life increases. Why? Because God is saying, wake up. This is not where you belong. When God warns you about narcissists, it is not to condemn you for being deceived. It is to teach you to trust your intuition, your discernment, those subtle whispers of unease you felt at the very beginning. But this isn't just about recognizing narcissists. It's also about what happens to you in their presence. You become smaller. You become hesitant. You become afraid of your own voice. That's not what God intended for you. God warns you about narcissists because your soul is precious and your mind is sacred. You're not meant to live as a pawn in someone else's self-centered narrative. You're meant to grow, to thrive, to stand upright with the full weight of your responsibility and dignity intact. So what do you do when you realize you're in the presence of a narcissist? The answer is simple, but it's not easy. You leave, you reclaim yourself, you set boundaries that they cannot cross, because here's the hard truth: narcissists don't change. They don't grow because they don't look inward. But you can. You can escape their grip and rebuild yourself stronger, sharper, and more attuned to those early warnings next time. Understand this: God's warnings are acts of grace. He doesn't just want you to survive. He wants you to become someone capable of discerning what is good and what is destructive. Someone who can say, no more. I will not be diminished. I will not be manipulated. You must see those signs for what they are: divine signals designed to preserve you, to strengthen you, and to remind you that you are worth far more than what any narcissist can offer. The question is, are you willing to listen? Because the warnings are there. They always have been. And if you pay attention, you'll find freedom. Narcissists are masters of illusion. And that's precisely what makes them so dangerous. They are architects of deception. At first glance, they seem charming, brilliant even. They know how to say the right words, how to mirror your values and desires, how to convince you that they are everything you've been seeking. They present themselves as confident leaders, deeply caring individuals, or even spiritual guides. They know exactly how to fit into whatever role you need them to play. And this is where the trap begins. The illusion is flawless because they've been practicing it for years. Narcissists are actors, perhaps the greatest actors you will ever meet, but the performance is always for their benefit, not yours. Now, why are they so convincing? Because narcissists understand human vulnerability. They know that people long to be understood, to be admired, to be loved. They play to these fundamental human needs like a puppeteer pulling strings. At the beginning, you might find yourself thinking, this person gets me, they're extraordinary, but that isn't real. What you're seeing is a mirror. The narcissist reflects back what you want to see, but it's not a reflection of truth, it's a tool to gain control. They manipulate perceptions, not just yours, but those of everyone around them, to create an image that protects their fragile, empty core. You see, underneath all that charm, confidence, and charisma lies something deeply broken. A narcissist's outward confidence is merely a mask for their insecurity. Their charm is a shield to distract from their inability to form genuine connections. They are hollow, but they will never let you see that. Their entire identity depends on maintaining the illusion of perfection, and they will go to extraordinary lengths to protect it. This is why it's so hard to spot them at first. The illusion feels real, and it can even be intoxicating. But if you look closely, if you listen to those whispers of unease in your spirit, you'll start to see the cracks. You'll see that their words don't always match their actions. You'll notice their need to be admired at all costs, their inability to handle even the slightest criticism. You'll realize that they're not listening to you, they're performing for you. The narcissist world is one of mirrors and masks, and if you're not careful, you can become trapped in it, losing sight of who you are in the process. God gives you signs to wake you up from this illusion, to show you the truth hidden behind the mask. But the question remains, will you trust what you see, or will you let the illusion deceive you further? Because one thing is certain, the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to escape their grip. The problem is, we often ignore these signals. Why? Because we want to believe the best in people. We want to believe that the person in front of us is as good as they appear to be. And so we rationalize. We say to ourselves, maybe I'm overreacting, or it's probably nothing. We brush aside the discomfort, convincing ourselves that we're imagining things. But that's the mistake. God doesn't give you that sense of unease for no reason. It's His way of saying, look closer, be careful. This isn't what it seems. You see, our intuition, our gut instinct is not just a feeling, it's an instrument of discernment that God gave us to navigate the complexities of relationships. It's that quiet voice that says something's off here long before you have all the evidence. And the narcissist relies on you ignoring that voice. That's part of their power. They want you to doubt your own perception. They want you to second guess yourself so they can continue their game unnoticed. And they are very good at it. They're skilled at creating an atmosphere where you feel the problem is you, not them. But here's the truth, the signs are there. They always are. The way they interrupt you in conversation, the way they make small, belittling comments disguised as jokes, the way they talk about others with contempt but praise themselves excessively. And yet, in the early stages, it's easy to excuse these things. After all, they can be charming, even magnetic. They know how to redirect your attention and distract you from the truth. That's why God's warning starts softly, because He's giving you the opportunity to act before the damage grows. That uneasy feeling in your heart is a shield, a protection against the harm that lies ahead. But if you ignore it, if you silence that inner voice, you'll find that the signs will grow louder. The discomfort will deepen. The chaos in your life will escalate. What began as a quiet whisper will turn into a storm that you cannot ignore. Because God will keep warning you, and the signs will become impossible to dismiss. The critical question is this: do you trust the whisper, or do you wait for the storm? God's warnings are subtle, but they are not weak. They are designed to save you before the cost becomes too high. The moment you feel that discomfort, that tug in your spirit, you must take it seriously. Don't rationalize it away. Don't bury it. Because the whisper is not just your intuition, it's divine wisdom urging you to protect yourself before the illusion becomes your reality. A narcissist doesn't listen to understand, they listen to respond, and that distinction is crucial. When you speak to a narcissist, you'll notice that the conversation is not about connection, it's about control. They're not truly hearing you because they don't care about your perspective or feelings. Their primary goal is to redirect the focus back to themselves, to reinforce their own image, and to maintain the upper hand in every interaction. At first, it's subtle. You'll share something personal, something meaningful, and instead of empathy or understanding, you'll get a response that feels off. They might shift the topic to themselves as if what you shared was insignificant. You'll tell them about a struggle you're facing, and rather than sitting with you in that moment of vulnerability, they'll interrupt with their own story, as if to say, let's talk about me now, and it's not an accident. Narcissists don't listen to connect, they listen to compete, to compare, and to dominate the emotional space. This is a warning sign God wants you to notice because it reveals their inability to engage in genuine human connection. When someone truly listens, they are present with you, they care, they respond thoughtfully, and they give space for your voice to be heard. But a narcissist cannot do that. Their listening is mechanical, calculated. They hear just enough to extract what benefits them. If you're sharing a weakness or a fear, they might pretend to care, but they're filing that information away for later, weaponizing your vulnerability to use against you when it suits their agenda. And here's something even more telling: when you challenge them, when you share a truth they don't want to hear, you'll see their mask begin to slip. A narcissist cannot handle criticism, even when it's constructive. Instead of listening to what you're saying, they'll become defensive, dismissive, or even angry. They'll twist your words, project blame back onto you, or change the subject entirely. Why? Because listening requires humility. Listening requires self-awareness. And a narcissist has neither. Their fragile ego cannot bear the weight of truth, so they shut it down before it can take root. Pay attention to this. If you find yourself constantly feeling unheard, interrupted, or invalidated in conversations with someone, that is not normal. That is not love. It is a sign of their self-absorption, their inability to see beyond their own reflection. A narcissist doesn't ask questions to understand, they ask questions to control the narrative. They don't listen to you, they listen for ways to manipulate, exploit, or dismiss you. The truth is, to a narcissist, your words are noise unless they serve their agenda. And here's the most dangerous part: over time, this behavior erodes your sense of self. You'll start to doubt whether your feelings or thoughts are valid. You'll wonder, am I overreacting? Am I the problem? But you're not. This is the narcissist's game, to drown out your voice so you rely on theirs. God gives you this warning early if you're willing to see it. If someone never listens to understand you, if you always feel like you're fighting to be heard, that is not a relationship built on respect or love. That is a relationship built on control. And if you ignore this sign, the damage will only deepen. Conversations will become battles, and eventually you'll feel invisible, unheard, and small. But it doesn't have to get to that point. The moment you realize someone is listening to respond, not to understand, is the moment you need to step back. God is showing you something vital. This person isn't capable of giving you what you need. Don't ignore it. Don't explain it away. The way someone listens reveals who they are. And when they don't listen, that's all the answer you need. A narcissist's actions will never consistently align with their words, and that inconsistency is one of the clearest warnings God gives you if you're paying attention. They are masters of promises, empty promises. They know what to say to keep you close, to keep you hopeful, and to keep you hooked, but when it comes to action, they rarely follow through. This is not an accident, it's a calculated manipulation. Their words are tools carefully crafted to give you just enough reassurance to stay, while their actions betray who they really are. At first, it's small. They say they'll call, but they don't. They tell you they'll help, but they don't show up. They promise to change, to do better, to be better. And for a moment, you want to believe them because their words sound so sincere. They might even look you in the eye with an intensity that makes you doubt your instincts, but look at the pattern. God is showing you the truth in their actions. Words or cheap actions reveal character. And with a narcissist, there is always a gap between the two. You might start to feel confusion setting in because they say all the right things. They apologize when you confront them. They promise they care. They swear they'll change. But time and time again, they don't. This inconsistency creates chaos, a form of psychological instability that keeps you unbalanced and questioning yourself. And that's what they want. A narcissist thrives on your confusion because as long as you're unsure, you stay under their control. You second guess your own judgment, you question whether you're being too hard on them, and you convince yourself to give them one more chance. That's how they keep you trapped through words that sound like truth but are rooted in lies. Pay attention to this inconsistency because it's not just about broken promises, it's about the way they live. A narcissist may preach about honesty, but they lie. They may talk about loyalty, but they betray people the moment it serves them. They may pretend to value kindness and humility, but behind closed doors, they criticize, belittle, and manipulate others. There is a disconnect between the person they present to the world and the person they truly are. God is not the author of confusion. And when you see these contradictions, that is his way of showing you the truth. But here's the truth: God is not silent. He shows you these contradictions for a reason. He is saying, trust what you see, not what you hear. If someone's actions do not reflect their words, you cannot trust them. Love, respect, integrity, these are things shown through consistency, not speeches. Real character doesn't need to declare itself, it proves itself over time. A narcissist's inconsistency, on the other hand, reveals a broken foundation. It reveals that their words are smoke and mirrors designed to keep you blind. God is showing you that someone who cannot honor their word will not honor you. Someone who cannot follow through with small promises will never be there for you when it matters most. It is not your responsibility to bridge the gap between their words and their actions. It is not your job to keep forgiving broken promises that were never meant to be kept. God is giving you clarity through the inconsistency. He's showing you this is not trustworthy, this is not safe. And if you ignore this sign, the cost will grow. The inconsistencies will become betrayals. The lies will become deeper. And eventually you will wake up to find yourself in a relationship with someone who has no intention of living up to the promises they made. Trust is built on actions, not words, and when God reveals someone's inconsistency, it's not to confuse you, it's to protect you. Listen to that warning, because the truth is always found in what they do, not in what they say. A narcissist is quick to take credit for success, but they vanish when it's time to take responsibility for failure. This is a glaring warning sign, one that God puts in front of you, hoping you'll see it for what it is: an absence of humility, accountability, and integrity. In any healthy relationship, be it personal, professional, or spiritual, people own their actions, both the good and the bad. But for a narcissist, admitting failure feels like death to their fragile ego, and they will do anything to avoid it. At first, it's subtle. You might notice that when things go well, they're the first to stand tall and accept praise. They bask in the glory, often exaggerating their contribution to make sure all eyes are on them. They'll frame themselves as the mastermind, the hero, or the savior of the moment, even if others played a role. The narcissist will skillfully downplay that, making sure they stand at the center of the story. But watch what happens when the outcome isn't favorable. Suddenly they disappear, shift the blame, or find anyone to throw under the bus. It doesn't matter how clear the evidence is. To a narcissist, failure can never be their fault. This is not just selfish behavior, it's a warning about the deeper truth of their character. A person unwilling to take responsibility for their failures will inevitably hurt you, betray your trust, and abandon you in times of need. Because when things fall apart, when life brings difficulty, setbacks, or crisis, accountability is the foundation of any strong relationship. Without it, there is no growth, no trust, and no honesty. God is showing you that someone who cannot face their own shortcomings will never truly support you when you face yours. When a narcissist is confronted about a mistake, they react in predictable ways. They might deny it outright, no matter how obvious the truth is. They'll twist the situation, rewrite history, and gaslight you into questioning your own reality. You'll find yourself replaying events in your mind, wondering, did I get it wrong? Am I imagining this, but you're not? This is the narcissist defense mechanism to make you feel unstable so they don't have to feel exposed. And if denial doesn't work, they'll move to blame. They'll project their failures onto others, saying things like, if you had done your part, this wouldn't have happened, or it's not my fault, I only did what I had to, because of you. They weaponize shame turning the focus away from themselves and onto anyone close enough to bear the burden. This cycle is exhausting. Over time, it erodes your confidence and your peace. You'll feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to bring up any issue because you know how they'll react. And yet, when success comes, they'll be there to reap the rewards, taking credit for things they didn't even contribute to. This inconsistency is not just frustrating, it's destructive. It creates an imbalance where you are held accountable for everything, while they evade accountability at every turn. That's not a partnership, it's a dictatorship disguised as a relationship. God is showing you this for a reason. He is telling you to open your eyes and see the truth. Someone who cannot own their failures lacks integrity. And integrity is the foundation of every meaningful connection. Without it, there is no trust. Without it, you will always feel alone, unsupported, and unseen. You'll carry the weight of their mistakes on your shoulders because they refuse to carry it themselves. And here's the dangerous part. The more you enable this behavior, the more they'll demand it from you. The narcissist's need to escape responsibility will grow, and you'll become the scapegoat for every problem, every failure, every flaw. But here's the truth: responsibility is not optional. Real leaders, real friends, real partners take ownership of both their wins and their losses. They stand in the light when it's time to celebrate, and they stand in the storm when it's time to face challenges. A narcissist cannot do this because they live in a false reality where their image matters more than truth. And God is showing you this inconsistency because He wants you to understand one thing: anyone who refuses to face their failures will never grow. They will never change. They will never be able to build something lasting with you because they are unwilling to confront the hard, uncomfortable truths of life. You deserve to be surrounded by people who take ownership of their actions, people who don't hide behind pride or excuses. A narcissist will always leave you to pick up the pieces when things fall apart, and they'll never acknowledge the role they played in breaking it. That is not love. That is not leadership. That is not trust. It's a warning that God is placing before you, saying, pay attention. This person will leave you stranded when you need them most, and if you ignore it, the damage will only deepen. Taking responsibility is not weakness, it's strength. It's a sign of maturity, humility, and character. And when someone lacks those qualities, no amount of love, hope, or patience will change them. God is showing you their inability to take responsibility because He's telling you this is not safe. Walk away. Narcissists will exploit your kindness, turning your compassion into a weapon against you. God gives you this warning sign clearly if you are willing to see it for what it is: a dangerous imbalance that feeds their control while draining you of your strength. Your ability to love, to forgive, to care deeply for others is a gift from God, but when you place that gift in the hands of a narcissist, they will manipulate it, twist it, and use it to serve their own selfish needs. A narcissist knows how to identify those with good hearts, people who want to help, who want to understand, who believe the best in others, and they take full advantage of that. At first, they will make you feel like your kindness is appreciated, like it's a bond that strengthens the relationship. They might praise you for being understanding, for being patient, for being someone they can always count on. These words seem comforting, even validating, but watch closely. This praise is not genuine, it's a setup. What they're really doing is testing the limits of your compassion. How far will you go for them? How much of yourself are you willing to sacrifice? When you forgive their mistakes, when you excuse their bad behavior, when you give them endless chances despite the warning signs, the narcissist sees an opportunity. They see someone they can control. Soon your kindness becomes a trap. When they hurt you, when they lie, when they break their promises, they'll remind you of how good and forgiving you are. They'll say things like, "You're not going to hold this against me, are you?" Or, "I thought you were different from everyone else. You actually understand me. Do you see what they're doing?" They're using your compassion as a weapon to silence you, to prevent you from holding them accountable. They're making you feel guilty for setting boundaries or for saying enough is enough, and because you care, because you want to be a good person, you stay, you give them another chance, you keep loving them, hoping they'll change. But they won't. A narcissist doesn't change because they don't see a problem with themselves. They only see opportunities to use others to their advantage. God shows you this pattern because he wants you to understand that kindness without boundaries is not strength, it's vulnerability. Compassion is a beautiful quality, but it must be protected. It must be given to those who appreciate it, not to those who appreciate it, not to those who exploit it. When you continuously forgive someone who refuses to change, you're not helping them, you're enabling them, you're feeding their sense of entitlement, their belief that they can do whatever they want without consequence. And the more you give, the more they'll take. A narcissist is never satisfied because their need for control and validation is a bottomless pit. Your kindness becomes fuel for their behavior, and soon you'll find yourself exhausted, drained, and questioning your own worth. But here's what God wants you to remember: you are not weak for being kind. Your ability to care deeply for others is a reflection of God's love within you. But God also calls us to be wise, to discern who deserves our kindness and who does not. Jesus himself set boundaries. He loved unconditionally, but he did not allow himself to be manipulated or mistreated. He walked away from those who refused to see the truth, and he calls you to do the same. When you allow a narcissist to weaponize your kindness, you are giving them permission to steal your peace, your joy, and your identity. That is not what God wants for you. Pay attention to how a narcissist responds when you finally say no, when you refuse to give in, when you assert yourself, when you set a boundary. Their true nature will be revealed. They might guilt trip you, calling you selfish or unloving. They might lash out in anger, accusing you of being the problem. Or they might play the victim, saying things like, "I knew you'd leave me just like everyone else." These are manipulative tactics designed to pull you back in, to make you doubt yourself, and to break down your resolve. But don't fall for it. God is showing you the truth. This person is not capable of loving you in the way you deserve. They only want what they can take from you. True love, true relationships are built on mutual respect. They require boundaries, accountability, and balance. Someone who truly values you will not exploit your kindness. They will honor it. They will protect it. But a narcissist only sees your kindness as a tool, a way to get what they want without giving anything in return. And God is showing you this because he wants you to understand that your worth is not determined by how much you sacrifice for someone who refuses to change. You were not created to be used. You were not created to pour endlessly into someone who only drains you. God is calling you to protect the love and compassion he placed inside you, to walk away from those who exploit it and to give it to those who deserve it. This is not about becoming hard or unkind. It's about being wise. It's about recognizing that when someone uses your goodness against you, that is not love, that is manipulation. And God is showing you this warning because he wants you to see the truth before it's too late. Trust what he is revealing to you. Your kindness is a gift, but it is not meant to be thrown to those who only seek to exploit it. God is saying, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. When you protect your heart, when you honor the compassion God has given you, you will no longer allow a narcissist to weaponize it against you. You will walk away, not in anger, but in wisdom, knowing that you are worthy of so much more. Narcissists have a profound ability to isolate you, and they do it so subtly that you don't even realize it's happening until you look around and find yourself completely alone. God warns you through this sign because isolation is one of the most dangerous tools a narcissist can use to control you. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process, like a slow fog rolling in until you can't see what's around you. At the start, everything seems normal. The narcissist often appears charming, interested, and invested in your life. They'll encourage you to spend more time with them, to lean on them emotionally, to trust them above all others. And it feels good because we all want someone who makes us feel seen and valued. But this isn't love, it's a strategy. Pay attention to how the narcissist reacts to the relationships in your life, your friends, your family, your support system. In the beginning, they might disguise their intentions with concern. They'll say things like, "I don't think they really care about you." Or, "I'm not sure you can trust them the way you trust me." At first, these remarks seem harmless, maybe even thoughtful. You might start to wonder, are they right? Have I been blind to the truth about those around me? Slowly, doubt creeps in, and you begin pulling back from the people you love. Then comes the criticism. The narcissist will start to nitpick your relationships, pointing out flaws in your friends and family members that you hadn't noticed before. They might say your loved ones are holding you back, that they don't understand you the way I do, or that they don't want what's best for you. These words are seeds being planted in your mind, and if you're not careful, they'll take root. You start believing the narcissist's version of events. You become suspicious of others, distant and disconnected. And here's the danger: when you isolate yourself from the people who truly care about you, you lose your perspective. You lose the voices of reason in your life, people who can see what the narcissist is doing and warn you before it's too late. God often uses people to reveal the truth to us. He places friends, mentors, and family members in our lives to hold us accountable, to encourage us, and to pull us back when we're heading in the wrong direction. But the narcissist doesn't want you to have those people around. They know that as long as you have support, as long as you have someone reminding you of your worth and your truth, their control over you is limited. So they isolate you. They make you question everyone but them. And the more isolated you become, the more powerful they feel. Once the narcissist has succeeded in isolating you, their real intentions become clear. They stop pretending to care about your well-being. They start to show their true colors. Without a support system to lean on, you begin to rely on the narcissist for everything: validation, comfort, guidance, even your sense of identity. It's in this isolation that the narcissist thrives. They know you have no one else to turn to, so they feel free to manipulate you without consequence. If you try to pull away, if you try to express your feelings or stand up for yourself, they'll gaslight you. They'll make you feel like you're overreacting, like you're being unreasonable, like you're the one who's causing the problem. And because you're alone, it's easier to believe them. But God warns you through this isolation. He gives you signs, moments of clarity where you realize what's happening. Maybe it's a sudden longing for the friends you've drifted from, or a moment of discomfort when the narcissist criticizes someone you love. Maybe someone reaches out to you, a family member, an old friend, and you feel a pull to reconnect. These are not coincidences. God is showing you the truth. Isolation is a tool of control, and it is not from Him. The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes 4:9-10, two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. God created us for community. He created us to live in connection with others, to lean on one another in times of need. A narcissist will try to strip that from you because they know it weakens you, but God's warning is clear: isolation is not love. If you are starting to feel cut off, if you're losing touch with the people who matter to you, don't ignore that feeling. God is trying to show you what's happening. He's reminding you that real love doesn't isolate, it connects. Real love doesn't demand that you abandon your friends or family to prove your loyalty. A healthy relationship strengthens your other relationships, it doesn't destroy them. God's love builds bridges, it doesn't burn them down. You must ask yourself, why is this person encouraging me to disconnect from the people I love? When you feel alone and you're leaning solely on the narcissist for validation and direction, you're exactly where they want you. But that's not where God wants you. God wants you to surround yourself with people who love you, who protect you, who hold you accountable. He wants you to be in relationships that reflect His love, relationships that bring you peace, not confusion, clarity, not doubt. The moment you recognize the isolation, you have a choice. You can continue down the path the narcissist has set for you, or you can turn back to the people who care for you. God is warning you because He wants to remind you of who you are. You are not someone who needs to be controlled, manipulated, or cut off from love. You are worthy of relationships that nurture your spirit, relationships that bring you closer to Him, not further away. When you begin to reconnect with others, when you begin to break the chains of isolation, the narcissist's hold on you will weaken. You will see the truth, and the truth will set you free. The narcissist will often prey on your vulnerability, especially during moments when you feel weak, confused, or unsure of yourself. God warns you about this tendency because it is during these times that you are most susceptible to manipulation. The narcissist is acutely aware of your emotional state, and they know how to capitalize on it. They have an almost uncanny ability to sense when you are at your lowest, when your defenses are down, and when your need for validation is most pressing. This is when they swoop in with their false empathy, pretending to be your savior, your protector, the person who understands you better than anyone else ever could. At first, it feels like genuine care. They might come across as supportive, attentive, and ready to help you through the hard times. They'll say all the right things, make you feel like you're not alone in your struggles. This false sense of intimacy creates a bond that feels real, but it's nothing more than an illusion designed to lower your guard. You might start to believe that they are the only ones who truly understand you, that no one else can provide the comfort or support you need. This is exactly what the narcissist wants. They create this illusion of understanding so that they can establish a sense of control over you. They want you to believe that your worth is tied to their approval and that your vulnerability is only safe in their hands. What happens next is where the danger lies. Once they've successfully lured you in with their feigned empathy, they will begin to manipulate your emotions. They might offer unsolicited advice, tell you how you should feel, or give you a perspective that makes you question your own judgment. They subtly guide you away from your own truth and begin planting seeds of doubt in your mind. You're too emotional, they might say, or you're overreacting. They make you question your instincts, your perceptions, your very sense of self. Slowly, you begin to rely on them more and more for answers, for reassurance, for guidance. You become dependent on their validation to feel good about yourself. And this is where the narcissist's true power lies. God's warning to you in this situation is clear. You are not weak for being vulnerable. You are human, and vulnerability is part of the human experience. But it is critical that you recognize when someone is taking advantage of your vulnerability rather than helping you heal from it. The narcissist doesn't care about your healing, they care about your dependence. They want you to feel like they are the only one who can give you the emotional security you crave. And the more you give into that belief, the more power they have over you. But God is showing you this as a warning. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it is a strength when placed in the right hands. When you allow someone who genuinely cares about you to see your vulnerabilities, they will encourage your healing. They will uplift you, help you rebuild your confidence and strengthen your sense of self. But the narcissist, in their self-centeredness, only wants to exploit that vulnerability for their own gain. They don't help you grow, they manipulate you into becoming emotionally dependent on them. This is why it's so important to recognize when someone is preying on your vulnerability, especially when they seem to be offering you a solution. Narcissists don't offer solutions, they offer false promises that keep you coming back for more, while they quietly strip you of your self-worth. When you feel emotionally drained or confused after interacting with someone, that is a sign that they are not adding to your life, they are taking from it. God is calling you to stand firm in your own truth. He wants you to see that your value is not dependent on anyone's opinion or validation. Your worth is intrinsic, given to you by Him. You are not here to serve the emotional needs of others, especially those who only seek to manipulate and control you. It's time to regain control of your emotions, your mind, and your heart. Let your vulnerability be something you offer to those who truly care about you, those who will help you heal, grow, and become stronger. When you stop relying on the narcissist for validation, when you stop depending on them for emotional support, you will begin to see clearly. You will recognize that their so-called empathy was nothing but a mask to hide their true intentions. And the moment you start trusting yourself again, you will break free from the toxic grip they have on you. The strength to heal lies within you, and God has given you all you need to reclaim your power. Vulnerability is a gift, but it must be handled with care. Don't give it away to those who will misuse it. Trust yourself, trust God, and remember that true healing comes from within, not from someone who seeks to manipulate your emotions for their own benefit. When a narcissist targets your insecurities, it is often a quiet and insidious process. They have a remarkable ability to spot your weaknesses and use them against you, often without you even realizing it. They thrive on exploiting your self-doubt, your fears, and your past experiences to create a sense of dependency. God warns you through this behavior because it is a direct assault on your identity, your self-worth, and your spiritual well-being. The narcissist doesn't just manipulate your thoughts and emotions, they seek to reshape who you are by constantly undermining your confidence and playing on your deepest vulnerabilities. In the beginning, the narcissist might disguise their attacks under the guise of concern or advice. They might tell you that they are only trying to help you be better, that they are trying to protect you from the things that might harm you. But beneath the surface, their real goal is to make you question your abilities and your worth. They will often say things like, "I'm just trying to make you see how you're holding yourself back," or "You could do so much more if you just listened to me." These comments may appear as constructive criticism at first, but they are not meant to improve you. They are meant to keep you second-guessing yourself. The more you doubt yourself, the more power the narcissist gains over you. The narcissist's focus is always on your weaknesses. They may bring up past mistakes, past failures, or any area where you've expressed vulnerability. They might remind you of your shortcomings in such a way that you begin to believe that you are defined by those weaknesses. It's a subtle form of gaslighting designed to distort your sense of self. They will often make you feel like your insecurities are the core of your identity, and they will convince you that you cannot succeed or be happy without their guidance or approval. But this is a lie. Your insecurities do not define who you are. They are simply part of the human experience, and they can be overcome. What is dangerous about this manipulation is that it builds slowly over time. At first, you might not even recognize the narcissist's influence. Their words may seem harmless, even helpful, but slowly you start to internalize their criticism. You begin to second-guess your decisions, question your abilities, and feel like you need them to make the right choices. The narcissist knows that once they can make you feel inadequate, they have you in a state of emotional dependency. They keep you small, keep you uncertain, so you keep turning to them for guidance, approval, and reassurance. What's important to recognize is that the narcissist's words are not truth, they are a distortion of the truth. The narcissist is projecting their own need for control onto you, and by doing so, they make you feel like your own voice, your own sense of self is invalid. This is not love, it's manipulation. True love encourages growth, empowers you to stand on your own, and helps you embrace your strengths while addressing your weaknesses. The narcissist, on the other hand, seeks to hold you back, to keep you stuck in a state of insecurity so that they can continue to control you. The warning here from God is clear. You are not defined by your insecurities or your fears. These are aspects of yourself that you can work through, but they do not determine your worth. You are a child of God, created in His image, and your identity is rooted in His love and truth. The narcissist seeks to define you by your weaknesses because it gives them power over you. But God has already defined you, and His definition is not based on your imperfections. It is based on His perfect love for you. In these moments of manipulation, God is showing you that you don't need to seek validation from anyone, especially someone who wants to break you down. You are enough as you are, and while you may have areas for growth, those areas do not diminish your inherent worth. It is through God's love that you are healed, that you are made whole. Your insecurities are not your identity, they are simply points of growth. The narcissist, however, wants to lock you in a place of self-doubt, so you will forever feel small and dependent on them. When you begin to recognize the narcissist's tactics for what they are, manipulation meant to exploit your weaknesses, you can start to break free from their control. You can start to rebuild your sense of self, not based on the distorted views of others, but rooted in the truth of who you are in God's eyes. You are not defined by your past mistakes, your flaws, or your insecurities. You are defined by God's love. And that is a love that empowers you to rise above the lies and manipulation of the narcissist. Your insecurities are not your identity, they are part of your journey. And with God's guidance, you can move beyond them. The narcissist's need for admiration is a driving force behind their behavior, and it is something that manifests in ways that can be both subtle and overt. God gives you this warning because He wants you to recognize the danger of constantly seeking validation from someone whose self-esteem is so fragile that it must be constantly reinforced by others. The narcissist is someone whose inner sense of worth is hollow, so they rely on external praise and admiration to fill that void. This creates an environment where everything is about them, how they are perceived, how they are admired, and how they can manipulate your perception of them to maintain their inflated self-image. They will do whatever it takes to receive admiration. And they will often go to great lengths to make you believe that they are the center of your world. At first, the narcissist's need for admiration can seem harmless. They might appear to be charming, confident, and charismatic. They may shower you with attention, praise you excessively, and make you feel special and valued. But underneath this outward display of affection, there is a deep insecurity. Their praise is not genuine. It is a tool they use to manipulate and control you. They do not praise you because they genuinely value you. They praise you because it feeds their need for adoration and self-affirmation. When they give you compliments, they expect something in return: your loyalty, your validation, your constant admiration. This sets up an unhealthy dynamic where your relationship with them is not based on mutual respect, but on their need to constantly be lifted up, often at your expense. This constant cycle of needing to be admired creates an emotional imbalance in the relationship. You begin to feel like you are constantly walking on eggshells, trying to meet their expectations and maintain their approval. Their self-worth is tied to how others see them, and so they will do anything to preserve that image. They will lie, manipulate, and distort the truth to make themselves appear superior. They might constantly remind you of their accomplishments, exaggerate their successes, or downplay their failures to make sure that they are seen as perfect. This need for constant admiration can be exhausting because no matter how much you give, it will never be enough for the narcissist. They will always need more. God's warning in this situation is vital because it tells you that a relationship built on admiration for the sake of admiration is not healthy. True admiration comes from a place of mutual respect, not from a place of control or manipulation. The narcissist's need for admiration blinds them to the worth of others. They will use flattery to lure you in, but once they have you, they will exploit your desire for approval. They will make you feel as though your value is contingent upon their praise, leading you to constantly seek their validation. This cycle is toxic because it creates an emotional dependency where you begin to feel like you cannot live without their approval. The key here is to recognize that you do not need anyone's admiration to be whole. Your worth is not defined by how others see you, but by your inherent value as a person. Narcissists thrive on the idea that others need them for validation, but God shows you that true strength lies in knowing that you do not need anyone's approval to be valuable. You are already valuable, and no amount of praise or admiration from the narcissist will ever fill the void they themselves feel inside. In the relationship with the narcissist, you might begin to feel drained because you are giving, while receiving nothing in return except their constant need for more attention. The narcissist might even gaslight you into believing that you are selfish or inconsiderate for not constantly praising them or meeting their needs, but this is part of their manipulation. They will make you feel guilty for not feeding their insatiable need for admiration, and in doing so, they keep you emotionally bound to them while they remain emotionally distant and self-absorbed. The more you cater to their need for admiration, the more they will demand. What God is teaching you through this is that true love and respect come from a place of equality, not dependency. When a relationship is centered on mutual admiration and genuine respect, both parties feel valued, not just one. The narcissist's endless need for admiration creates a toxic dynamic where they are constantly seeking to feed their ego while you are left feeling drained, unappreciated, and used. This is not what a healthy relationship looks like. God is showing you that when you stop feeding the narcissist's need for constant admiration, you break free from their control. You begin to see that your own worth does not rely on their approval, and that you are worthy of respect, love, and admiration simply for who you are. True self-worth comes from within. It is not based on how others see you, but on the knowledge that you are a unique creation with inherent value. When you allow someone else to define your worth, you lose sight of your true self. The narcissist wants to make you feel small and dependent on their approval, but God's love for you shows you that you are enough, just as you are. You do not need to cater to their needs or seek their praise to feel worthy. You are already worthy. And it is time to break free from the cycle of seeking validation from someone who will never be able to give you the recognition you truly deserve. When you stop seeking the narcissist's admiration and start seeing yourself through God's eyes, you reclaim your power. You no longer need to feed their insatiable ego. You are not here to serve their need for validation, and you do not need their approval to be whole. Recognizing this allows you to step into a place of peace, knowing that your worth is unshakable and that God has already given you everything you need to succeed. The narcissist may try to keep you dependent on their admiration, but God is showing you that your true strength lies in knowing who you are and living in alignment with your own worth, not in the approval of others. In conclusion, the warning signs of a narcissist are clear. They prey on your insecurities, manipulate your emotions, and seek to control you through their need for constant admiration and validation. But God, in His wisdom, provides us with these insights to protect our hearts and minds from being consumed by such toxic relationships. By recognizing these behaviors, you are empowered to take a step back and evaluate your worth, not through the eyes of a narcissist, but through the eyes of God, who sees you as valuable and capable, regardless of external praise or criticism. Your identity is not rooted in the validation of others, and it is not defined by the insecurities or emotional manipulation that narcissists impose on you. You are a child of God, and your worth is inherent, built on His love and purpose for your life. When you understand this truth, you free yourself from the chains of dependence and regain control of your life. Let the narcissist's need for admiration serve as a reminder that true worth comes from within and from God alone, and not from the approval of those who seek to manipulate or exploit you. But stay rooted in the truth of who you are, and you will find peace, strength, and the ability to walk away from the toxic influence